the fate.
This is the way. Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Tells me when you'll remember.
Hello, critics, non-critics, and friends. Welcome to the Film Optix podcast, where we take a glance into blockbusters, indie films, and everything in between. I'm your host, Christian, and I'm joined by my good friend and my co-host, Devin. And we have two special guests joining us here today. We have Leo Rydel from the Geekly Goods YouTube channel and Mike Thomas, a.k.a. the Novice Cinephile. And today we're here to reflect and give our thoughts on Stranger Things 4, Season 4, y'all. Volume 1. I'm so excited to dive into this. But before we begin today's episode, you can listen to our podcast on platforms around the internet. That includes Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. And if you are a new or seasoned listener to the show, we'd love to hear from you guys. Follow us on Instagram and follow us on Twitter at Film Optix. That is Optix with an X. Or you can email us at filmoptix@gmail.com for any movie-related questions. So we're going to go around the show here, the round table. We're going to start with Mike Thomas. His first time on the show. So congratulations, Mike. You did it. How you feeling? How are you? Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for inviting me on. It's, Stranger Things is one of my favorite shows ever. So for this to be my first episode of Film Optix, it's really special, especially because Stranger Things is one of my favorite shows. So being able to talk to my great friends about this amazing season of Stranger Things is just awesome, especially because this might be the best season yet. I don't know. I might be wrong there. We still have 2 episodes to go, technically, too. So it could all fall apart. But I love this season so much, and I can't wait to get into it.
Definitely. Leo, glad to have you back, man. How you been? You've been watching Stranger Things how many times now? Season 4?
Yeah, season 4, I've definitely gone through 3 times. Well, I could say 2.5. The third time, it was like while I was editing. So I was like, okay, right. This is like another time. You know what I mean? Just for the work purposes. But thank you for having me back on, man. It's good to be here talking Stranger Things with you guys because I'm with you, Mike. I feel the same way. Like Stranger Things season 4, I think the more I see it, the more it tops my list here. And we'll get into that once we get in the episode. But guys, this is one of my favorite shows as well. I thought this season was just everything was like a step above the previous 3. And we can talk about that too. But sorry, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but thanks for having me back on, Christian. And Mike, good to see you, bro. You too, Devin. Hey. Good to see y'all.
Yeah.
All right, Devin, my co-host. How are you doing today, man? What's going on in your life?
It's been an unfortunate day because of some PC issues, but other than that, it's good to be here to talk about some Stranger Things. I think I might have to agree. We'll have to see. Start comparing seasons here.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's whew. I mean, I want to go through this again because, as we were talking about a little bit beforehand, it's, Stranger Things, it's one of those shows where, it's an original property and it just feels like, I can't say like Game of Thrones level or whatever, but like in a way it kind of does almost. Like the more I think about it, like it may not have the same, gore. There's they've definitely stepped up a lot of things for this season, but it's a different type of fandom and I'm here for it and I love it. And I'm still waiting on that season 3 Blu-ray. Duffer Brothers, I'm begging you, release the Blu-ray. My season 1 and season 2 Blu-ray discs are very lonely. I need to continue my collection.
What if they release it on VHS?
You know what?
That'd be amazing though.
So they actually, for season 1 and for season 2, it like the Blu-ray, like the packaging is like a VHS tape, which is actually pretty cool, which is what I really, really like about it. But yeah, man, I've been looking for that season 3 Blu-ray and I'm like, I can't find it anywhere. I've seen DVDs of season 3, like at Walmart, but I can't find the Blu-ray anywhere. And I'm like, did I miss it? Like what's going on? But hopefully, like, I mean, you can't stop now. Like you really, really can't. This ain't Daredevil or Jessica Jones or any of the other, Marvel properties with like Luke Cage and stuff. Like, no, like we are finishing this series because they are supposed to end with 5. Season 5 is supposed to be the finale there.
And a spinoff, right?
Is there supposed to be a spinoff? I'm not sure.
I saw on, it could have been like Deadline or something, but they said
it was like an 11 spinoff.
Yeah.
It's you know what?
5 seasons and a spinoff.
So instead of 6 seasons in a movie, we're getting well,
Community would be proud.
Community will be proud. So technically it's 5 seasons and a spinoff, but really for season 4, it's 8 episodes in a movie because the season finale is reportedly 2 hours and 30 minutes, which is insane. And I'm like, oh, just give it to me. I'm ready.
Yes, I'm so ready. I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Like, I mean,
give me a Dead by Daylight type game too. I mean, that's just.
Yeah, I'm down, man.
Honestly, yeah.
That's genius, honestly.
Awesome. You know, Netflix, Duffer Brothers, if you're listening, we can make it happen. We know people. Not the people that you know, but we just know people in general.
Yeah, we could just add Jeff Keighley and he could probably make it happen somehow.
Oh. Hashtag Jeff killed E3. I will forever use that. I mean, I don't hate the man, but like he knows what he's doing. That's all I have to say. For sure. Oh man. But are you guys ready to head back into the Upside Down and talk about Stranger Things Volume 1 or Stranger Things 4 Volume 1, I should say. I apologize. It's all, some people say Stranger Things 4, some people say Stranger Things Season 4, and then it's like when you say Stranger Things Volume 1, you know what they're talking about, but, they kind of just drop the 4. But are you guys ready to head back into the Upside Down?
Heck yeah, man. Let's do it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back after this introduction to Stranger Things 4, Volume 1.
It's time.
Don't try to be heroes. There is no shame in running.
Sick.
What do you think, Mike?
It's risky as hell. Chances of success are 20 to 1.
Never tell me the odds.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and we are back with our Stranger Things 4 Volume 1 review. And of course, if you don't know by now, the creators of the show, Ross and Matt Duffer, aka the Duffer Brothers, and this entire series stars some amazing talents such as Millie Bobby Brown, Sadie Sink, Winona Ryder, and David Harbour, just to name a few. And honestly, if you're listening to this, you already know the story by now. And I couldn't really find a synopsis for season 4 that wasn't like, 2 sentences because I found one on, I believe it was on Rotten Tomatoes, but it was like an entire paragraph. And I'm like, I'm not reading all that. It was crazy. But obviously, if you're listening to this episode, then you have been following Stranger Things since the beginning. Whether you're a new or seasoned listener viewer to this amazing series, we're here. We're going to be talking about it. We're going to be getting into our initial reactions first off. Then we'll get into spoilers once you hear this bad boy. But of course, we're not going to be getting into spoilers just yet. Then we'll talk about a few 80s Easter eggs here and there and a few little fun facts about the show that I kind of picked up throughout these past few days. We'll get into final thoughts and ratings, and then we'll close on out there. So we're going to go around the entire podcast here, the entire show. We're going to start with our guest, Mike Thomas. He's going to give his initial reactions. Then we'll head over to Leo, and then Devin will give his, and then I'll go last. So, Mike, what did you think of this new season?
Yeah, so it's interesting because a lot of hullabaloo was basically about the runtimes of each episode, right? And the major thing I noticed was each episode was perfectly paced. And so spoiler-free thoughts is that it's paced well. The story, it's much darker and a lot more gruesome than the previous 3 seasons. And so that's your first takeaway. Episode 1, you know that the stakes are a little bit higher than they were in previous seasons. All the characters return to form, fantastic. It's a little weird seeing them in high school now, I will admit. But that's not a fault of the show. That's just kids grow up and I'm getting old. So that's my biggest takeaway there. But yeah, it's perfectly paced. The action's great. The mystery is very intriguing and engaging. My only criticism would probably be some of the Hopper Russian plot that was carried over from Stranger Things 3. That didn't really do anything for me. We'll talk about that in spoilers a little bit more, but initial reaction, everything's great. It's fantastic.
All right, Leo, what are your thoughts?
So, oh man, I gotta admit, I really like this season straight up, like right off the bat. I mean, it's crazy to me that, you know, the kids have gotten so much older. So it's like, okay, not only have the children matured and have become young adults, also the series has matured with them. And it's nice to see that aspects like the horror and even the way it's shot, the way the stories are presented, it just feels a lot more mature than the last seasons. So I really like how this season stepped it up. I mean, it's more gruesome. The deaths and things that happen in this season are crazy. We've got a great new villain that I think arguably is the best we've had so far. The soundtrack is jumping. I mean, every single track, every needle drop, bro. Like, I'm just like, look, every needle drop. I'm really loving it. And I think about this season and I think about it compared to the other seasons, and it does feel like a step up in every sense. And the production value is, and I just really like the season a lot. Well said, Mike. It is very well paced. These episodes, I don't feel the run times because the mystery is so engaging. And I follow up with you on the Hopper storyline. And then I have some issues with some characters who are a little uninvolved that I think, okay, we kind of sidestepped them a little. So it made their stories less impactful as a whole with the season. But yeah, we'll get into that in the spoiler stuff. But I mean, initial thoughts when I first saw it, I really liked it a lot. Like I almost wanted to just go right back to the first episode and watch it all the way through again. So good.
I mean, you did multiple times, right?
Yeah.
At least twice.
Once. Once. The third time was a little different, but.
All right, Devin, my right-hand man, what are your thoughts about Stranger Things 4 Volume 1?
Yeah, it seems like we're all in agreement here. I mean, it's hard not to love this season with everything they did, all the improvements they made, production, story especially. I feel like this was like the most complete, well-rounded story of the seasons. And we finally get a real walking, talking villain. Like, it's nice to have somebody that you can actually kind of be afraid of, because it seems like it could be a real person. Like, it's not the mind flayer. It's not Demogorgons. It's like a walking, talking, breathing thing, which is nice to see. Definitely agree about the Hopper stuff. When I tell you guys, whenever a Hopper scene came on, I went to the kitchen to get a snack without pausing. I knew I was safe. I knew I would not be missing anything. Like, this man should be dead. It ended off so well when he died last season. It was so perfect, his letter to 11. But then he's back, and we have to pretend to care. But I just couldn't. And then, other than that, there definitely some issues with just too many characters. Millie Bobby Brown even has admitted this in interviews. Like, she's trying to get some Game of Thrones action going into this volume 2. Maybe we'll see some deaths happening, but other than that, it's just so fun to watch. It's just so crazy to see these kids grow up. Like, we've been watching them for what, like, feels like 10 years now. It's crazy.
Yeah, I believe season 1 dropped, was that 2016? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, 2016.
Yeah, 2016.
But the pandemic makes it feel like 30 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
It really, okay, so between season 3 came out 2019. And this came out in 2022. Yeah, wow. It's almost like Attack on Titan level, really. Between, I still haven't seen season 4 of that one, but I'm waiting on that. But to give my initial reactions, I'm in agreement with everyone. Like I said before, this is one of my favorite, like, just all-time favorite TV shows ever. The 80s aesthetic. I have a really big soft spot for coming of age films and especially TV shows. And this show just makes me feel like a kid again. I mean, I didn't grow up in the 80s. I'm a 90s kid, but like, it just made me feel like a kid again. Like, I didn't play D&D either, but like, there's a lot of similarities between that and, video games, about, what that might make children do. We'll get into that here in a little bit, but, just everything with every single character. The Hopper stuff I do agree on, and I'm sure we'll get on that for sure. I didn't, take a snack break like Devin, but
I felt so safe. I was like, I am good for the next few minutes.
I mean, for what it's worth, I did get up a few times too, but I at least had the headphones on, so I still heard what was happening. I wasn't sitting there watching the entire time.
It was definitely like the weakest part of some of the episodes. Now, I will say some of it was enjoyable, but overall, we'll get into it.
I mean, like we said before, we had 2 more episodes left. Really, really sucks that we have to wait an entire month. But from everything, just like you guys said, the production value, like this felt like a grand event that, like, I just didn't think a lot of people cared about Stranger Things as much as I did, because it's been so long and people were like, oh, well, season 3 was okay. I'm like, season 3 was underrated. I loved it, but I feel like, and I've said this before, I think this should have been, I know this should have been a week to week type of production, because almost every single show, or excuse me, every single episode ends on a cliffhanger. And then it's like, it would have been so perfect. That's at least 9 to 10, maybe 9 to 11 weeks of pure discourse that people would have been talking about Stranger Things. And the binge model is whatever, but luckily I didn't feel the runtime like I felt the runtime in season 3, because I also watched all of season 3 way back in 2019. We actually technically recorded, it was one of our first episodes ever of Stranger Things 3. But I do remember saying that it just felt like a chore. This season did not feel like a chore, thank God. And even though the run times are a little bit longer, it flew by. Especially episode 7, it flew by. I was like, I'm 50 minutes in. I paused to use the bathroom really quick or something. I was like, I'm 55 minutes in already. I'm like, I'm not feeling this at all. Mike, you were right. I was like, wow, this is fantastic. But yeah, I really think they could have benefited from the week to week, because I do believe that Stranger Things is and has always been their number one property for a while, outside of Daredevil. And of course, Squid Game's kind of a new thing, but Stranger Things has been there for a while. And, I'm glad that they didn't cancel this like everything else. It's that would be, stupid too, but it's I really enjoyed this season. But we'll get into it here in a second. I loved it, everything with 11 and Max and, Lucas and all the new characters, and what Devin had said about, I kind of do agree with Millie Bobby Brown. I feel like the cast is getting a bit too big, and the whole thing with Hopper, we'll get into that here in a second, but that pretty much concludes our initial reaction section, because I'm going to end up ranting here if I don't close it off right now. But are you guys ready to get into spoilers?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, it really sucks that, it's great, but it kind of sucks at the same time that all episodes are out, because, you kind of have to wait for people to catch up and talk about it and things of that nature. But so, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to get into spoilers. So this is your second or final warning. So we're about to get into spoilers again one more time, because I'm so nice. We're about to get into spoilers for Stranger Things 4 Volume 1. So turn back right now. Man, so where do you guys
start running up that hill?
Running up that hill. Yeah. I will say, I started listening to the soundtrack. Leo, you're right. That one secret, that one banger track. What was it? You posted it in the group chat earlier. I'm blanking on the name.
Detroit Rock City?
No, not Detroit Rock City. It was. Let me see. Object of My Desire. Yeah, Object of My Desire by Starpoint. I was feeling it, man. I'm like, this is A+ stuff.
Yeah, that's my favorite track of the season.
Yeah. I mean, hey, Running Up That Hill is great stuff too. I mean, I feel like that's a really good workout song. Honestly, this entire track is like a great this entire soundtrack's a great workout like routine. I feel it's got the 80s vibes, you know, you got the it's like, you know, you're kind of just doing your own thing. But since now we're in spoilers, you guys, I feel like we're already kind of talking about Hopper. So you guys want to talk about that first, or do you want to?
This man stayed in prison the whole season. The place we knew he was.
Let's get to that first.
Okay.
Yeah, let's get it out the way because I think that's the biggest like issue we all have with this season. So let's just knock it out. All
right. So we're going to start with some negatives here. So I guess we'll kind of just go around the round table again here. We'll start with Devin because I mean, I don't know how much he saw of Hopper's arc, but we'll start with Devin, then we'll go to Leo, and then Mike, and then I'll give my final thoughts about
I mean, we already saw him, David Harbour, escape a Russian prison in Black Widow, and it was much more entertaining because he was a funny guy. But now he's just the serious old guy just in a Russian prison. We knew he was there at the end of last season, 3 years ago. So we know where he is. And then it takes the whole season for him to get out. It's just, I feel like if they would have maybe gotten him out quicker, it could have been more entertaining. But I just could not care less about Hopper at this point because I just wish he was dead. Nothing against him, but it just was a perfect ending last season.
Leo, what about you?
So on the first watch, initially, I was like, oh, okay, it wasn't so bad. It was definitely like the weakest storyline, I think, in terms of the broader scope. It did have its moments, I think. Like, it had its peaks and valleys. Like, there were definitely moments like when the Demogorgon type monster attacked them, and it was like, holy crap, this is the first time we've seen one of those, like, kind of just, like, go in. Like, we haven't seen that on this show. We haven't seen one just, like, straight up take down a massive, like, pack of guys. So I thought it was crazy to get like this crazy like horror movie like experience in this part. But I mean, in terms of the whole story, Murray's funny. I mean, and I like that we got some scenes with Joyce. I like those characters a lot. I just think it did take a long time. Like, why do we have to take the whole season to do that? So it rips away from pivotal moments, like other moments we could be back with 11, we could be back with the core group, and we could be back with Mike, Lucas, Mike, Will, and Jonathan, which I thought they were massively sidelined, especially in like the second half of the season. Their contribution is now they're going to find 11, who it's a lot of tango.
Don't forget Argyle.
Yeah.
Argyle. He was a great addition, I will say.
Yeah, man. For sure.
Oh, man. All right, Mike.
Yeah, so I'm with Devin and Leo in the sense that I agree with everything that they both said. Like, Hopper, if you just had him die last season, it'd be so much more impactful. But I'm not against the idea of bringing him back. And everything Leo said was right about the battle with the Demogorgon and them trying to break out. That was the most interesting thing that they've done. But that could have been done in episode 3 or 4 instead of episode 7. It felt like they were just padding the runtime, which is weird because, again, these episodes are way longer than they usually are. So why are we trying to like pad the runtime? And so it's one of those things where Joyce and Murray are just so interesting or so fun that it made it better than what it probably should have been, honestly. Because they're so entertaining. The actors are so great. It at least made for a fun time, even though we really wanted to get back to what the main cast was doing. And I think it's running into that issue of the adults are still alive, so we have to get them out of the story. We're basically trying to have an excuse for them not to be there with the kids, because a lot of the first couple seasons was Joyce and Hopper being integral to those stories. And so now it's, again, the cast is just too big. We have to try and put them over here, and we need to have Will and Mike over here. And that's why I think both of those stories end up suffering, because there's just 3 teams. 2 teams are just trying to get back home or find 11, while the main team, where they're fighting Vecna, is the way more interesting plot line. And so it's kind of muddled. Again, pacing-wise, they handle it really well, but it's just a lot going on.
I would definitely agree with you guys there. It's, I mean, you know, we all love Hopper, and I feel like I'm piggybacking here a little bit, but I feel like the reason why he's stuck in prison is because they wrote themselves into, oh, like, you know, we had Hopper, you know, this grand sacrifice, but now they've kind of written themselves into, oh, well, you know, we decided to keep him alive and now we don't know what to do with him type situation where he is literally, like you guys say, you know, he's in this Russian prison. And I totally get it. You know, for the first few episodes, like that's totally fine. But I feel like, you know, well, obviously we haven't seen the last 2 episodes, so I'm trying to reserve judgment to see how they bring him back. I have a theory as to what, but I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, it really feels like the Duffer brothers just don't know what to do with Hopper now. And like we said earlier, you know, Millie Bobby Brown was saying that, like, you know, we got to start like actually like, you know, hacking off some of these core characters, not, you know, introducing a new character in one season and then, you know, killing them. Like Chrissy was in it for 1 episode. And I mean, like, she was fantastic, but it's like,
can I pose a question though? Cause it's like, okay, if remember those feelings, how we felt throughout the season, and spoiler alert, when Max was floating in the air,
loved
when
it.
Steve was getting attacked by those bats, I don't know. I was just like, I don't know if I could let go. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't want to let go of those characters. Like I know that it's kind of like there's a lot of characters, and yeah, somebody's probably gonna bite the bullet, but it's gonna be really hard to let go. These characters are so good. I will say that is like Stranger Things, probably their biggest trump card is they write some interesting characters. Because even the small characters that already died, Chrissy included, they're interesting. They have interesting backstories. They're up to stuff. Like, so they give these characters like substance before we see them die. You know what I mean? Which,
except the basketball players.
oh yeah,
they're just kind of floating around. They're not doing much.
They're going on this witch hunt for.
Yeah, they're gonna kill Eddie, dude. I'm like,
poor
geez.
Eddie. Yeah, I was like, this is insane. But yeah, like for Hopper, it's just I feel like they don't know what to do with him. Hopefully, they've written a great way to bring him back and to have him, you know, a part of Eleven's life again. Because as we see during the beginning of this entire, you know, journey, you know, it's great seeing all the new characters, you know, the characters again. You know, season 1, it's great to see everybody and just, you know, what everyone's up to. You know, the group is growing older and they are kind of drifting apart. You know, you have Lucas, who's on the basketball team, who's also rocking number 8, aka Kobe Bryant's number, which is really, really awesome. I like that that touch. You know, Max is going through her own stuff. And then you have, you know, everyone from Hawkins kind of like still trying to stay together. You know, you have Mike and then Dustin, who are, you know, joining the Hellfire Club, and that's kind of where everything starts. And then, you know, you have the California team. All this stuff starts during spring break. It seems to always start during either some kind of break during the school year, because, you know, you can't be saving the world when classes are going on.
I love how respectful the Upside Down is, where they don't send monsters when the kids are in class.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this entire series, especially, you know, Stranger Things 4, you know, it's always about the kids. And I do think you're right, Leo. It, like, for episode 4, which was titled Dear Billy, I would not have, I might have stopped watching.
That's the one, man.
That episode is so good.
I might have stopped watching if they killed off Max.
Yeah, I was so upset. Like when they were playing the memories and oh gosh, the Kate Bush song was playing.
I didn't know who Kate Bush was until this season, but now I definitely know.
Now she's my favorite, right?
Right.
That scene just hits so different.
So powerful.
Yeah. Running at the hill. Oh.
And I will say, for, you know, when she was floating in the air, that was actually Sadie Sink floating in the air. I watched the Jimmy Fallon interview with her. And she also mentioned that Vecna there's actually someone in that suit. Like, that's a practical.
Yeah, I saw it's 90% practical,
which is insane. I was like, this entire, like, it felt like this super long movie. Like, the production value was just it was up there. I'm like, I haven't seen something this great, honestly, since Game of Thrones. I mean, that really was like one of the first big budget TV shows. Me like, hey, you know, we can make movie quality TV shows for at home viewing.
Yeah.
And like, you know, you see like every single like episode, you know, written directed by the Duffer brothers, or, you know, yada yada yada, whoever that episode's written by. Like it felt so cinematic, and I was like, this, like this shouldn't exist. This should not exist whatsoever. But I absolutely love it. But I wanted to pass it back over to you guys. You know, since we are in the spoiler field, if there's anything you wanted to talk about that we haven't gotten to yet. We'll start with Devin, then I'll go to Leo, and then I'll end with Mike.
I think we got to talk about Vecna for a little bit. I mean,
yeah,
it's just great to have a real villain here. I mean, I was thinking the whole season, I was trying to figure out like what exact movie they were kind of, because every season it's kind of based off of an old 80s or 70s horror movie. And it's just, you just have to look right at Nightmare on Elm Street for this one. That's the ultimate inspiration for this. They even got Robert Englund to be a character in this season, which was cool to see. What was his name? Victor Creel. I loved Nancy and what's her name together. That was really fun.
You're talking about
Robin.
Robin.
Robin. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just so crazy that they were able to bring all of that full circle at the end in the finale with Victor Creel's son being that orderly that's talking to Eleven, who is also Vecna. Just all of it coming together. Just could not have ended that season better, I don't think.
Leo, is there anything you wanted to bring up that we haven't talked about yet? And I feel like we've barely scratched the surface.
Yeah, no, well, we definitely need to talk a little bit more about Vecna. I mean, we could do a round table on just Vecna. I mean, I seriously thought, wow, what a great villain we've got here, because you were saying it earlier, Devin, and I agree with you. It's like the villains in the past seasons don't even have dialogue, man. Like, it's just like childish villains. You know, it's a big scary monster. Like, this is an actual guy, and I love how he ties into the story. Like, I love that twist there, because then it really brings a lot of these upside down connections and the villains and monsters back around to what was going on in the lab. And I love bridging the gap like that. And not to mention that fight between him and 11 was super tight. Really looking forward to the rematch. Yeah, that was round one. I'm like, the rematch is about to be insane. But great twist, man. And just, I think this really, you look at Nightmare on Elm Street for sure. I mean, it just really stepped up the horror value this season. Like, this feels like a horror show now. And I think you could say that about season 3. I mean, there's definitely its moments, but like, this was like a big step up in the horror department. Like, they really made this feel pretty creepy to me, like pretty scary.
The body horror was great.
Yeah.
The body horror had me cringing.
Dude, that body horror had me like, Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, like,
right? Some Exorcist type stuff. Like, it's just what a season. What a season, man.
For sure. I don't know. Vecna is just, like you said, the fight with him and 11, which, by the way, really quick before I get to Mike, I did not know that, you know, they have, you know, we get baby 11 again, or little 11. I didn't know that was like an actual person. I thought that was CG. I was like, wow, that's like really good CG. And then when I sent you guys that thing, I was like, oh my gosh, you know, this is actually somebody, like, you know, they get like a lookalike little 11. I believe her name was Marty Blair, who plays young 11. And Millie actually directed her every step of the way, which is really, really nice. I love how they were able to use, you know, an actual like actor to, you know, okay, you know, we have to do flashbacks with 11. How are we going to do this? I feel like they used, you know, little 11 sparingly, like just enough where it's like, you know, it worked. You know, we didn't need, like, I like how when 11 is trying to regain her powers, because we've all been wondering how she gonna get them back. How it's kind of like, you know, she has to like retrace her steps. and everything.
Not to mention, did she kill them people at the beginning? Like, it's kind of just like this mystery of like throughout the season. You're like, did they like drive her so mad? Like, what happened in that instant? And it was cool to see it turn around, and it was like one, and she stopped the threat.
Yeah, this is one of the only times where one of those like intro to a season where they show something from later on in the season where it actually pays off and works.
Yeah,
like it's become so cliche, but it actually worked this time.
Like Uncharted.
Yeah, whatever that was.
I bet you're wondering how I got in this situation.
I will say, all I'm saying is Millie and Angela had it coming. She had it coming. I was like, this is why kids are mean. Kids are ruthless. Kids are the devil.
11 was raised in a lab, dude. Like, she's not gonna really know that skate is too far until it happens, dude.
All I'm saying is
I was never mad. I'm just like, no, she had it coming.
Nope. Had it coming. She over here punking 11. They throwing shakes on her. Like, I'm like, wow, dude. Really?
It's so elaborate.
Making fun of her dad. I couldn't. I was like, you know what? If that was my kid, good job.
I forgot she lost her powers for a split second. And so when she was like walking up to her, it was about to, like, when she was trying to use her powers, like, oh man, lift her in the air. Hell.
Seriously, she was about to go dark side.
Not to pivot too much, but I want to ask you guys, how was it? Like, I know a lot of you did rewatches of the previous seasons leading into this one. How is that flow? Because I haven't watched Stranger Things since 2019. So I just kind of watched the recap and went straight into this season.
Season 2 was definitely a weak season, in my opinion. I remember going back and watching the first 3, and I thought 1 really solid. I mean, that's really close to the first spot for me. 2, I thought was a little, because they replaced a lot of the same stuff. Will is the MacGuffin again. Like, it just was kind of like, okay, I didn't like the Demodogs either. Too much going on in that season. 3, great. The summer, the new Coke, the cool new themes.
Yeah.
3 was just fun.
Yeah, 3 was so much
fun. Yeah.
So I need to go revisit it. I might do a rewatch before we go into the second volume.
Oh, no. Yeah, seriously, though. For me, I was unfortunately only able to get through season 1. Honestly, I kind of did to myself. I waited way, way too late to even start like a Stranger Things rewatch. But I'm telling you one thing, as soon as, when they announce season 5, hopefully it's not too far off. Definitely going to be rewatching everything from like start to finish. I do want to rewatch season 4 again, but I do apologize. We kind of pivoted off of everything. But Mike, did you have any thoughts about Vecna or just any, thoughts in general that we haven't been able to get to as of yet? Of course, we are in spoiler territory, so feel free to speak your mind.
Regarding Vecna, no, I think you guys hit everything on the head. It's a great villain. It's like Devin was saying before, having not a human embodiment really, but like having a threat that can actually tell us what they want, what the motivation is, having that conflict tie back to Elle was just masterfully done. And even the physical appearance, like you said, it was mostly practical. Mm-hmm. That's why he's so intimidating. Like, we didn't have just a CG monster. And I love me some Demogorgons, but having that actual like performance come through is what makes that work. And I wish more shows took the time to do that. Like, even casting a younger Elle instead of just shrinking Millie down like Steve Rogers style. I'm glad that they actually took the time to cast a child.
I'm telling you guys, I was blown away. I did not know that was a separate actor.
There was that one scene where her eye contact was a bit wonky, like that Chippendale Seth Rogen character. You could
yeah,
tell.
there are a few scenes where I'm kind of like, I think there's like one where she's like looking up at one. And I'm like,
that's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, that's looking a little off, y'all.
You said Seth Rogen from
Yeah, that's all I can think
It
about.
looks real, but it doesn't look quite right.
Can't make eye contact.
He's looking at people like, oh, I'm looking at you.
It's like Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, where everything, look how realistic everything is, but everyone just has like this animatronic.
Yeah.
Hey.
But yeah, can we just like Sadie Sink, fantastic.
Yeah,
get her the Emmys.
She's a star of Volume 1.
She really is. I think I saw someone tweet. They said that they would give anything to see what she wrote to Lucas in that letter, and I wanted them to go through it.
Well, then she would have had to die, right?
That's the thing. She would have had to die.
Yeah, that's true.
So fingers crossed they don't have to open it by the end of the season.
Yeah, we only get the one for
unless
Billy.
Lucas just kind of does it himself.
So can we get into some predictions, y'all? Who do you think is not going to make it?
So actually, I think we talked about this a little bit before, Leo. I think, and like this is just a, because 11 was originally supposed to die at the end of season 1, but because of Millie Bobby
Steve
Brown's,
was too, right? They were supposed to like kill off Steve, and then he became too popular.
Maybe. I think Mike had said, we were talking, he said, what did you say? Steve has been flirting with death.
Yeah, Steve has been flirting with death since season 1. Like, he's always coming this close. And I've talked to Leo about this before with like different anime. They don't like to kill off children. Mm-mm. So it might end up being Steve or Nancy or Robin or Jonathan because they usually stay away from killing children in these type of shows. And that's why it's like, if season 5 is them going to college, everybody's on the table now. Anybody can die at that point. I feel like the kids are mostly safe. So it might be like, if it's Hopper, that'd be ridiculous. Hopper is like the one character who can't die at this point.
Yeah, we went a whole season trying to get you, bro.
I would think it's the older characters though.
I'm expecting a Hopper versus Papa showdown at some point. Get them in the ring together.
So speaking of
Papa going down,
Papa's going down.
He's got a grizzly bear going against him there.
Hopper beat Captain America. He's not losing.
He appeared.
I definitely think Nancy or Steve, or maybe even both of them, is like, because I feel like what character, I mean, Robin, but she's been in it for a season. Jonathan.
Are you guys team Steve or team Jonathan?
I'm team Steve.
Steve.
Yeah.
I think it's the writing failing Jonathan. Like, what has he really done?
They don't know how to write him. They just turned him into a stoner and said, here you go, do that.
He's just kind of like hunched over.
I mean, he had a really good arc in like season 1, with him being like, the not the town creep, but, the school weirdo, things of that nature.
And he's like taking pictures and stuff and has a passion. Like there's a progression for his story, and it just kind of ends after season 2. It's just like, I feel the same about Nancy. Nancy's at least involved in the core plot, but I'm like, her personal story is kind of like, oh, well, I guess her and Steve, never mind, they have an arc.
Yeah, they definitely do. I mean, I hope Max and Luca, like, that's honestly that's probably my favorite couple. Like, I mean, 11 and Mike are fine,
bit bumpy,
but it's like, he comes out to spring break to see her, and then it's that California team. Like, as we got farther into the season, they kind of got put on the back burner a little bit because, like, for the first, I think for like the last like 3 episodes, I think the last time we saw them was when they went to Utah. They were in Utah with Dustin's girlfriend, and I do apologize, I'm blanking on her name, Susie. Which that whole bit was fantastic. We finally get to see a little bit of Susie's home life, which is really awesome. But I feel like that was like the last time we saw them because they needed the coordinates or like the number as to where 11 was, and I think that was the last time we saw them. And then they carried on with we get more Hopper, but of course Hopper reuniting with Joyce, which was a nice touch. I just it's hard to say because like I said before, we have 2 more episodes left, and clearly there's a lot to cover in that season finale. With it being
if he dies, I'm gonna be like, wow, that
like so you kept him alive to kill him.
Thanks for wasting 7 hours of my time.
Yeah, I would think that would be pretty bad. So Hopper is totally plot armored at this point. Yeah. It's like, okay, he's good. He's suited and booted. Good to go.
It's interesting because like the characters I think that are that would receive the least amount of backlash would be Jonathan and Will.
Yes.
Because can you really kill Will after what you did to him the first 2 seasons?
He has to be a survivor. Like Will cannot die. Like it's like, okay, we spent the whole first season looking for the kid. The second season he's possessed. Like you can't do that.
But what does he actually add? Like to the story at this point. That's my concern with the California team, is that it's Will and John don't do anything anymore, really.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why it's probably got to be Steve or Nancy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you want to have any sort of impact, you would kill them characters who have been.
Especially with Eddie here, and Dustin already said he's replacing Steve.
Yeah. I love their dynamic, like this pseudo big brother, fight over Dustin, and just the bickering between Steve and Dustin.
I found a new older guy friend who's better than you.
Like the whole Hellfire Club thing, and I think I wanted to mention this before we close out. I love how, with the basketball team, they, for some reason, they have their minds warped after what happened to Chrissy, and they're like, oh, this D&D stuff, like they've been talking about in the papers.
They're just mindless drones, the whole team.
Well, it kind of reminded me of, especially in our day and age, obviously we weren't alive during the 80s, but during our day and age where everyone was saying that video games causes violence, which we know isn't true, but it's that whole feel again, unfortunately there's been a lot of, school shootings as of late. And for some reason, video games and Call of Duty always gets roped into the middle of it. When there's been a lot of studies shown that, that's not true, but, the whole D&D thing where they're like, oh, it's a cult, it's called the Hellfire Club. And it's like, well, yeah, it's just a cool name that they came up with. But I really love the D&D basketball, like parallel thing where they're rolling the D20 and, Lucas is getting that Kobe shot in.
I love the basketball team personally because you're right. It does represent things that happen in real life, but also it just shows Lucas. It shows the kids growing up. Like he has a different group of friends. He has different interests. He's becoming an athlete. But then it also shows the split of, okay, these guys are bad news. I need to reunite with the OGs essentially and figure this crap out. Yeah. But also, I like just like the little references of like the Demogorgon in D&D, the ties there. It's like, yeah, if you look back at it, this all kind of started with Dungeons and Dragons in season 1. Yeah. Maybe they are summoning demons. I like at least that somebody thought of it.
Yeah.
It's wrong, but it's like, yeah, that would cross somebody's mind. It makes sense.
It is some crazy stuff, but like this whole season has just been, it's been an emotional roller coaster just all together. Unfortunately, there are some side, some stories that kind of get fell to the wayside, but like it's still really great. Like I do want to go through it again. I don't think it's going to lose any mojo going through it for a second time.
Sure didn't for me. Lost no mojo.
Dude, I just love the series so much. But really quick before we get into our final thoughts and ratings, anything else? Since we're in spoiler territory, whatnot. Anything else anyone wanted to throw out there really quick or no?
Any predictions as to what Will painted? I mean, it seems like it's just Mike, but
I feel like it's just like a picture of everyone in their front. I really don't know. I know that.
I have no idea.
Because he grabbed it before they left, so it must be something important.
I think Will just misses hanging out with the bros. He just does. It's like, it ain't the same no more, and they're not.
I feel like it's just the Mike crush that they're hinting at and kind of tiptoeing around, but not really.
The sexual tension there is kind of yeah.
Seemed like it.
It does. I'm trying to figure out like were there any, not like signs, but like what led to this? Because like it really just makes it seem, especially from like the end of, or for like season 3, where they're starting that adolescence, that coming of age of not everything as is going to stay forever. I think even in the movie Good Boys, they kind of bring it up where you're friends now because you live in the same town, you go to the same school, things of that nature. But when high school happens, things do change. You find different interests, you find different group of friends. It's a different beast than middle school, junior high school, etc. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, like it could be that they're hinting that he is that Will does have a crush on Mike, but I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I don't know. I think that Noah Schnapp kind of mentioned, he said, I feel like they never really address Will's sexuality or blatantly say how Will is. And he said, I think that's the beauty of it. And that's, up to the audience's interpretation. I'm all for interpretation, but I mean, I really don't know. Like it could go either way. Like I would honestly be fine either way. It's just, I feel like they needed to give Will something to do or some kind of like, interesting like fact about him that hopefully, turns full circle. Like, unfortunately, we don't see too much of Will this season, but I mean, the California team, that whole like shootout scene, I was like, wow, this is crazy. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I don't know. Like if they address it, like I'm cool with it. If not, same feeling, I guess. It's just, I just don't know. Like, since Will isn't the, as Leo said earlier, like the MacGuffin anymore, then like what else are they going to do with him? But that also brings back to what Millie Bobby Brown said about, there being too many characters. And I feel like if they were able to call off or, cut out some of those older characters like Steve or Nancy or heck, even Robin, I really don't know. They'll be able to focus more on the kids again and their story. But I think they've done a great job so far. But I pretty much already gave like my final thoughts, but I'll go around the podcast really quick here. We'll start with Mike so he can give his final thoughts and his ratings. Then we'll go to Leo and then we'll end with Devin.
Yeah. So first off, this is my first time here. What's the rating scale?
Okay. So me and Devin have kind of gone back and forth. We've usually currently been doing it like out of like 100
gotcha
type situation, just to kind of give everyone a little bit leeway, because it's like a 4 out of 5 for one movie or a TV show may be different for a 4 out of 5 for like another, TV show. So yeah, we'll do the 100 scale.
So yeah, Stranger Things season 4, volume 1 is incredible. I love just about everything they do with it. Like even my gripes with like the Hopper stuff, I enjoyed it when it was happening. It's not like, oh, this is terrible. It just was the least interesting storyline that was happening. But everything, all the characters are phenomenal. You can spin off all 3 of these teams that was in this season, and they can carry their own show. That's how good it is. Like, I just want Steve, Nancy, and crew to get a dog and just be the mystery gang, because that's how great they are. And the kids are great by themselves because they've carried the show up to this point. I just love everything we had with Max, and then we had new characters like Eddie. That just shows how great the Duffer Brothers writing is, because each season they're able to bring in these new characters, and you end up questioning, how did this show survive without them? And so if I were to give it a rating out of 100, it would probably be a 90. So almost perfect. Couple nitpicks here and there, but we got 2 episodes to go. Those might get addressed in the later half of the season.
Yeah. I think we keep forgetting that there are 2 left. And it's like, again, should have been week to week. It kind of sucks we have to wait a full month. Like, I get it.
Did they say why? Why do we have to wait a month for 2 episodes?
Yeah, what's going on?
So what I've read, and I'm not sure how true this is, but from what I read, it was that the Duffer Brothers were not finished with the last 2 episodes, like I guess like in the editing room or whatnot. So that's why they needed to like postpone the last 2. I mean, we've waited this long, and it's like, this season's so big, and the last season we got was in 2019. So I really hope I hope we were able to end this around like maybe 2024, no later than like 2025. But I feel like 2025 is pushing it, because it's like, with season 5, where are they going to go? Are they going to be in college? Are they still going to be in the 80s?
Ooh, can you imagine the 90s?
90s
dream. Yeah, 90s
dream.
Yes. Oh, nice. Yeah, that would be great.
Scream.
You know what? Let's bring on the 90s.
Let's do it.
Wow, there's like a Hawkins murderer.
Exactly. It's writing itself.
Yeah.
Will snaps and becomes Ghostface.
He could.
We could have played Dungeons and Dragons forever.
Something to do.
But Leo, what are your final thoughts and ratings on Stranger Things season 4, volume 1?
Oh man, Mike said everything very well. I'm the same. 90 out of 100. It is really good, like top to bottom, just a really good season. And I love the stories in this season, how strong they are, how great the character arcs are, I just think we're really in for a crazy next 2 episodes. Like, I just feel like there's a lot up in the air. And I love where they take all these characters, man. Like, they're really killing it with the visuals too. I mean, the VFX in this season are great.
I know.
Like, they really stepped that up too. But man, I can't wait to see where we go with this next season. So 90 out of 100 for me.
All right, Devin, what about you?
Yeah, it's just I'm gonna go a little bit lower just because of Hopper's annoyingness. I'm gonna go like an 88, just a couple points. But other than that, I mean, it's a great season. Volume 2 is insane. Those run times, I think one's 2.5 hours long.
Yeah, that's the season finale.
That's insane. I don't know. I'm just curious to see how they pull that off, because what's the record for longest episode of a TV series? Like,
I think Stranger Things got it beat. I mean, this is a feature-length film. Like,
it's longer than 90% of the MCU films.
Yeah.
Let that sink in. That's ridiculous.
It probably pays better too, but yeah.
Yeah, probably. That's the sad. Like, that's what I'm saying. If they want to make Stranger Things movies, I'm all for it. Just tell us next time.
I remember Mike tweeted. He saw those run times. He's like, if y'all wanted to make some movies, why didn't you just say so?
I mean, they could put it in theater. There's no reason not to.
I
They
will
have a month to prepare.
Awesome. Yeah, I would actually like that a lot.
I think I also just wanted to mention quickly, Dustin, low-key MVP, just figuring out and solving every issue that ever came across this season.
Yes, I'll just circle back around because there's a few more things just for the final thoughts. You know, you guys hit it all on the nail on the head. I'm also going with a 90% just because, yeah, the Harbour stuff, like it kept me engaged, but I was like, okay, how long is this man going to stay in Russia? Like, this is, you know, getting a little too long there, but you know, he's finally reunited with Joyce, so we have to, you know, reserve judgment until volume 2 comes out with the last 2 episodes. But, you know, Max and 11 continue to be my 2 favorite characters this season. I mean, I love everything they did with 11, you know, like how she kind of had to break away from the group to kind of figure out her own stuff properly this time.
Yeah, season 2, it was a bad, like, that was a bad
That's a
separation.
spinoff we don't want.
No.
I love how that arc just died too. Like, that story went nowhere.
The fans said no, and
What
they said
happened to
okay.
Yeah. It was that is honestly the only bad thing I didn't like about season 2. But like overall, I still love season 2. You know, we get an introduction to Max scene and all of that. Like, it's great. I absolutely love it. But yeah, hopefully for, you know, season 4, it's just everything with 11 was fantastic. You know, Max was like low key like the MVP, much like Dustin was for volume 1. You know, I hope we get a little bit more of the California team for volume 2 as well. I'm sure we will. You know, every character has something interesting to offer to this grand, you know, finale. And like we said, you know, Vecna, fantastic villain, being number 1. And I did not see that coming. Did not see that coming whatsoever.
That reveal was so good. It was so good.
So good.
I was like,
I mean,
It ties back to season 1. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's what I really loved about it. And it's like, wow. I was like, oh, I did not expect this whatsoever. But yeah, 90% for me, or 90 out of 100. I love this entire series. Just everything about it. You know, the 80s vibes, like I said before. It makes you feel like you're a kid again. Of course, this is probably the most mature we've gotten, and I hope it gets a little bit more mature for the season season 5 season finale, whenever that is. And you know, Duffer Brothers still waiting on those Blu-rays for season 3 and season 4, of course, whenever, you know, the last 2 episodes drop, because like I said, my season 1 and season 2 Blu-rays are feeling a little lonely over there. So that's all I have to say about that. But that pretty much concludes our review of Stranger Things for Volume 1. Wanted to thank Mike and Leo for coming on to the show. Thank you guys so much. And of course, you know, Mike, welcome to the show. You know, we love to have you back on. You know, this is a great conversation we had. here today, but I wanted to kind of pass it over to Mike and then Leo so they can tell you where they can find them on the internet and what's coming up on their respective channels. So Mike, take it away.
Yeah, well, first off, thank you guys for having me. It's been a blast. I can't wait to see how this season ends as well. So if you guys are doing an episode, it'd be fun to talk about that when that eventually happens. But yeah, you can find me at Novice Cinephile on Twitter, on TikTok, on Facebook, and the Novice Cinephile on Instagram. You can also find my work at youtube.com/Novice Cinephile, where you can find our movie podcast, The Chatter After, where me, Isaac, and Brandon review older movies, newer movies, pretty much whatever we want bi-weekly. Our next episode is going to be about the Batman, so that's fun. So stay tuned for that. And you can find me on the Amateur Otaku podcast. We're talking anime pretty much every single day. Spy Family is amazing. Watch it. Best anime of the year.
Okay. All right. Leo, where can everyone find you on the internet?
That Spy Family is fire. Yes, I agree.
Yes.
Come on over to YouTube, guys. Search up Geekly Goods. You'll see 2 G's. That's me. Come on over to the channel. And yeah, lots of Stranger Things content lately. Got reactions for every episode, so go check those out. We got The Boys coming up. I got a review for The Boys coming up, and then some reactions as well. And then we got Lightyear around the corner, Thor: Love and Thunder, like plenty of content coming up, guys. So come on over. Hit that subscribe button. And then if you're across social media, I'm at Leo Rydel GG.
All right. And really quick, did you guys look up the last 2 episodes and what they're called at all?
I didn't.
Okay. Nope. I won't say it on the.
Do you have the titles?
I do. Well, okay. This is according to Rotten Tomatoes. So episode 8 or chapter 8 is called Papa. And then chapter 9, it's called The Piggyback.
What the heck am I supposed to do with that information?
So on Rotten Tomatoes, there's like a little synopsis.
Papa sounds sketch.
It does. So for every chapter, there's, the synopsis of the actual.
Yeah.
But for 8 and 9, it's just the standard. They don't release it until it comes out. So it just says mysteries unravel in a small Midwestern town in the 1980s. Involving supernatural forces.
So just the season 1 synopsis.
Yeah, the season 1 synopsis, which I actually like that Rotten Tomatoes does. I haven't looked at IMDb. They probably don't have it up there. But yeah, chapter 8 is called Papa, and chapter 9 is supposedly called The Piggyback. And its air date for both for them is June 1st, 2022. I'm sorry, July 1st.
Gonna have to kill Papa.
IMDb does have it, and they actually do have some images too.
I can't. I don't want to look. I do, but I don't at the same time. But I just wanted to throw that out there before we close on out here. But yeah, for us here on the podcast, as always, you can find us on any podcast platform out there, not including YouTube. Sorry, guys, we're audio only, but you can still hear our voices across Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and what have you. So what's coming up on the show for us? We have our Obi-Wan Kenobi episode 3 review coming up on, I think we're going to drop it on Thursday, which would be July 2nd. No, I'm sorry, June 2nd. Wow. I'm getting my days mixed up. I'm thinking about Stranger Things already. Like, give me those last 2 episodes.
I wish it'd be July 2nd right now.
So, silly me, I thought that Obi-Wan was dropping on Fridays because, we got the first 2 episodes on a Friday. It makes sense to separate the Star Wars and the Marvel content for separate days of the week because I thought that's what they were doing. No, it's not what they're doing. So it looks like Marvel and Star Wars content will be dropping on Wednesdays. So we have our Obi-Wan Kenobi episode 3 review that will be coming up on June 2nd. Hopefully we'll be able to get that out for you guys in time. And of course, we have a few other things coming up. We have The Boys season 3, Umbrella Academy season 3, like Leo said as well. We'll be covering like Thor: Love and Thunder. Might be covering some Jurassic World. Maybe I want to watch the first 2. Because I've only seen the second Jurassic World, and I was kind of pissed by the ending. But I haven't seen the first one. Because I think that comes out.
Everything. Wait, how did you only see the second Jurassic World movie?
Yeah,
because I'm more of a Land Before Time kind of guy. I'm just gonna come out there and say it. I like Jurassic Park, but it's not like my thing. It really isn't. Like,
you're saying there can only be one dinosaur property in the world?
Yep.
Including animated and live action. I mean,
hey man, I'm just saying, Littlefoot's mother, R.I.P. R.I.P. But
soon,
yeah,
man.
Seriously though. But yeah, for some reason for Jurassic World, I never just got around to seeing like the first one with Chris Pratt, and then I went to go see the second one. I think I went to go see it with Devin. I can't remember.
Second one sucked.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. But
the first one's the best one, so it's a shame that you didn't start out there. I mean,
yeah,
they're not as good as the original, but you know.
Right, yeah. I've seen the original. It's just, yeah, Jurassic World or Jurassic Park. I mean, it's cool stuff. It's just not really my forte there. But, you know, we have that coming up. Thor: Love and Thunder and Lightyear as well. So, you know, follow us on Instagram and Twitter to keep up with that, mainly on Twitter, to keep up with all that stuff. So the last thing we ask from all of our listeners out there, if you've made it this far, is to share an episode of the Film Optix podcast with a friend, whether it be your mother, your brother, your lover, whoever it may be. Make sure to share an episode of the Film Optix podcast with a movie lover in need. Again, thank you so much, Leo and Mike, for coming on to the podcast. We would love to have you guys back on for volume 2, man, because it feels like it's the end, but we're not there quite yet. So hopefully season 5 is not too far off, but it's going to close out here, and we hope everyone has a great rest of their week. So, and that is a wrap for today. Thank you all for listening. And if you enjoy the show, leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram to stay in the know. That was Devin, Leo, Mike, and my name is Christian. We'll see you guys on the upside down.